on, Whisper Nation? We are now live with another Mock Draft Monday following the historic Mock Draft Marathon. We're getting this one going with a 14-team half-point PPR, and this time it's going to be just Whisper Nation. We've gotten our fill with 24 mock drafts over the last 24 hours, and we felt it was just the right thing to do to turn this one back onto you, Whisper Nation, and we're going to be commenting about the picks as y'all make them, and then we're going to be also talking about some of the highlights and takeaways that we just had from this epic marathon run of drafting 24 mock drafts on the hour every hour. We never stopped. Johnny, Travis, how are you feeling after last night, yesterday, and everything that came with it?
Well, Johnny's trying to hide all the bags under his eyes right now with these shades.
Hey,
I had to sell him out though. I had to let Whisper Nation know, like, look, we went after it for you guys, and Johnny's usual pretty boy demeanor has suffered the consequences.
oh no! First of all, I want to take a second, and no, that is all false information. There, Whisper Nation. I apologize for my co-host here. They have no idea what is going on. I will say, I am coming in here.
You're right.
Hey, no, and listen up. All right,
Oh man,
you guys are with me for 2 whole hours. All right. And I'm not mocking, all right? I'm not mocking this time. And so you guys get the real lowdown on what's going on. And I got the headband on. I'm feeling real good right now. So I had to put on the glasses to complete everything right now.
yeah, you've got the whole Macho
He just-
Man, Hulk Hogan look
He
going.
does.
Yeah,
He's got
Yeah.
it complete.
Yeah.
We're almost complete right here with only one more spot
Love it.
remaining in this mock draft. It's the 11th spot in a 14-team half-point PPR. So if you're listening right now, you got a chance to jump on the show, grab that 11th spot, and mock along with the rest of Whisper Nation right here. So hurry up and grab that one before somebody else does. But Johnny, this Macho Man, Randy Savage attitude you got going, it's been carrying over. I love it. And it's, it feels like a natural segue. We had a professional wrestler we were mocking with.
yeah,
for the mock
dude.
marathon.
yeah.
We
Johnny's
had
fully
Adam
inspired.
Rank.
Yeah. That,
Oh my
that,
God.
that is correct. I am a little inspired. I gotta give it up. FF plug, former wrestler. I had to do it big. Listen, if you do something so epic as the 24-hour mock draft marathon with all the great guests that we had on, you
Like who?
just like who?
Run them through them.
Okay.
Just
Well,
name drop
a
little bit.
We had FF Plug on,
Yeah.
the former wrestler, like we said. Dude, we had Evan Silva.
Yep.
We had
Adam Rank.
Adam Rank. We had Stepmom Lauren.
Yeah, it's probably the headliner, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Easily.
Yeah. We had Liz
Loza
from Yahoo.
Yeah, love that.
We had the fantasy
Yahoo.
couch. We had the fantasy couch. We had Smitty on. We had the whole cast from
Strofe?
we had Strofe.
Yeah, we had Strofe in those late night hours. Can't forget Strofe, man.
We had Club FF
the
on.
whole gang of
the
Club
whole gang.
FFL.
The
Shout
whole
out
gang.
to Ryan Weiss, new member this year, I believe. You can follow him at Fantasy5. He's really good. Really, we were really impressed with him. Really impressed with him. Impressed with all of our
amazing.
guys.
Hey,
Right for the fantasy footballers, and he was just such a real human being. Brought such a great
Hey, we're
perspective.
full.
we're full. Let's begin
Dude,
this.
we are full.
That's full.
Let's rock
We're
this
full.
thing.
Let's get it. We got 14 team half point PPR. It is now started on the clock. Christian McCaffrey, the first pickup by W Bass. Let me take a second and just give a huge shout out right now to everybody we got drafting right now on another mock draft Monday. We got W Bass in the 1 spot. Lando Snap number 2. What's going on, Lando? Had a great time with your co-host on the mock draft marathon. T Garrett FF in the number 3. Smooth 1074 at number 4. Christian Langwas, I think it's cutting off the username a little bit, in the 5 spot. Jordan Flowers in the 6. Haytong Gifford 333 in the 7. FF Fortune, big fan of his
Always
drafting.
FF Fortune, baby.
Dude.
Love to have you there.
Yeah.
Love to see it. Easy Daddy at the 9. Stashes. Love that one at the 10. Jacob Bley, our number 1 fan, in the 11. Big Germ at the 12. FF Dad in 13. Brandon, Stan, wrapping us up here on the end cap of the 14-team draft. Welcome to another Mock Draft Monday. We are so happy to have all of you here alongside with myself, Austin Sear, and Big Travie, Johnny Game Time Hicks. I can hear the woman behind the glass, Chelsea Byers, over there in the background as well.
She is back there. You can hear her all right. Philly Chelsea coming out strong.
Whoa, dude. Why? Oh, my gosh. Are you serious right now?
Philly Chelsea is real. You think that the Philly fans are aggressive when they were throwing snowballs at Santa? Chelsea Byers was being held back in that stadium. She was trying to throw freaking rocks over at Santa. She doesn't care.
Yeah, I got to give some props. Everybody
marbles.
Yeah, everybody throwing marbles. Everybody in the chat right now. Tommy Garrett, what up, fellas? Eric Zubert saying pretty boy about Johnny, debatable.
Hey, that's all right. I'm okay with that.
I like
because you know what?
Johnny 0 Fs is what's that.
Yes,
we like that.
That's it. That's it.
Let's
right there.
go, Suns from Jacob Bley. I gotta say, man,
Let's go.
I don't like to be on the mic giving the Suns a lot of credit, but I gotta give credit where credit's due. They are torching the rest of the league right now in the bubble, and they are making their best case to try and win that playoff spot.
I must say, I understand we're here for a fantasy football mock draft.
Our boy Smooth 1-0, dude.
Can I get this off
auto
my chest?
drafting, dude?
Oh, come on.
I just don't appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't appreciate that either. But I must say that my boy Big Travie here is a LA Lakers fan, right?
That's right, Lake Show, baby.
Yes. But today the Suns did play, and I will say it was very, very pleasurable to sit here and cheer on the Phoenix Suns and have Big Travie cheer on the Suns with me. That was such a great feeling. I mean, I had such a great...
I don't know how you can't root for the Suns right now. I'm just going to be
darlings
honest.
of the NBA right now.
I just don't know how you can't. Yeah.
Relevant, conscious, awake
Pimpin' ain't easy taking that contrarian take, though. I hope the Blazers make it. Love Dame. No, I do love Damian Lillard.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't argue with that. Yeah.
Hey, but he copied my name and Dame Time. Come on, he copied Game Time. Come on, unreal.
Oh damn, he elevated your name.
Yeah,
baby.
he maybe
Game
took
Time
it.
I do love him.
Game Time is amazing.
I do love him.
But it's amazing because Dame Time is a thing, dude.
Oh,
like it's a real thing. I loved his comment about
Game Time isn't a real thing.
No, I know it is. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
I gotta give Johnny a moment on here with the Game Time though. That's stupid. I'm so sorry. I love where it's grown and gone to, but if there was ever a perfect example of reinforced positive messaging, speak it into existence kind of stuff, Game Time as a sticking nickname is the go-to example.
Yeah.
Johnny gave himself this nickname in like 8th grade.
Well, it's better than the other one he gave him.
15 years.
Oh, don't bring that up.
Stuck.
No,
that one's stuck.
No, that did not. First of all,
share a story.
We might have to
from Johnny in 8th grade.
That was not given to me.
Want to hear
that was given to me. That was given to me.
Dude, Brandon Stan here. With the Tyreek Hill, Pat Mahomes stack.
He copied you.
I just did this not even an hour ago. Saturday morning snap did a mock draft I was in, and I did Tyreek Hill, Pat Mahomes stack in a 14 team as well. So I'm a fan.
I know that we've had debates about Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill pairing along with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, we tried to have a debate about it. It is a consensus. We know that Tyreek Hill is the better 1-2 to have if we're going with the best double dip in the game.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you want. Are you going for volume or are you going for pop? Because if you're going for volume, it's Travis Kelce. But if you're going for pop, it's definitely Tyreek Hill.
Who had more touchdowns last year?
Once again, that's a pop. That's a pop situation. I'm talking about targets. I'm talking about looks. I'm talking about
positional advantage.
Share. Positional advantage is a good one to bring up too. Now, I think
in terms of a double dip, it's all about the fun.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
Because there's really no statistical evidence to suggest that
as far as number one target, who he's looking to the most, I'm going to say it's Travis Kelce.
Yes.
And that's
the
numbers.
Maybe on the volume.
The numbers,
maybe on the volume there. But if we're talking about overall points, if we're talking about overall excitement, if we're talking about who you want to be standing up and screaming on your couch for the double dip 1-2,
100%, dude.
It's real hard.
The one that makes you feel better. The one that makes you feel better is Tyreek Hill for sure.
You know what makes us feel better? You know what makes us feel better for reals? The
sleep.
That. And the fact.
Have you had any of that?
Oh yes,
yes.
So we took like a 6-hour nap yesterday. This is important. I want to give Whisper Nation the lowdown. We took a 6-hour nap yesterday. Woke up, had some good conversation with the roommates, and crushed some McDonald's. and went
Oh,
back to
yeah.
bed.
Oh.
Went
With
back
the
to bed.
McFlurry.
Yeah, with that Oreo, with
McFlurry.
extra Oreo in that thing, dude.
You get them? You ever get them? You ever get Darty and you do them both?
M&M and Oreo.
Oh, I never.
I
Even
can't
knew
do
even.
it if you
I
ask.
can't.
I never even knew that. I never knew that was
if
possible.
you're a real freak, they'll do it if you ask. No,
You gotta lick
Hey,
the box.
hey,
Yeah.
I'll try it.
Time, it's
I'll try
pre-COVID.
anything once.
Pre-COVID.
I'll try anything once.
Yeah, I know. Like this headband.
I know.
Yeah, this
I've seen the
headband
video.
shade look.
Hey, I like this headband.
We've
shade
got
look.
11 people in the chat right now. If you guys are in the chat, can you just hit us with those likes? We've only got 5 likes. It's just another click of the mouse. Would hate to see you not be able to click that mouse and give us a like there. We would appreciate that. Big
I just
Germ,
wanna say,
you're
it
over
was so
here in the
crazy in the mock
studio,
draft
not even
marathon.
liking it, dude. I swear to God, dude. If you haven't liked it, Big Germ, I'm kicking you out of this mock right now.
I was so impressed with Whisper Nation during the mock draft marathon. And
Yes.
anybody who's just tuning in right now, we did 24 straight hours of mock drafting. We rotated it just between the 3 co-hosts you see up here right now. I handled like 4 or 5 hours. I think I handled 4 hours. I was going to jump on a 5th, but Johnny's like, no,
I think it was.
I'm going to start
I thought
with
it was
Stroh.
12
No.
to 5.
Yeah,
It was 12 to 5.
It was
Maybe-
5
maybe I was
hours.
gonna jump on 11.
No, you
Maybe I'll
started.
jump
You
on
started with
11.
me and Strofe. It was 12. It was 5 hours. Let's give credit. Honestly, I want to
Yeah.
take this time before we get into Whisper Nation because I do love Whisper Nation. We'll start piping them up. I gotta give Austin, like, this thing does not happen without you, man.
Yeah.
You gave me and Johnny some much needed. Just even if we couldn't close our eyes, it was like this body rest that we needed just to be able to not be on camera and talking about all these people that we love. And all these players in this game that we love. But you, man, you came in, you held the energy. You were a fantastic co-host. You brought it. You kept the questions alive. You kept Whisper Nation involved. And most importantly, man, you kept us involved. And, man, once again, dude, could not have done it without you. We love
Absolutely.
you. Big love, man.
I mean,
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
there was
I appreciate getting that love.
I'm gonna let Whisper Nation in on a I mean, behind the scenes. We brought you some of that stuff, and there'll be more footage of that. By the way, we got a lot of that, and there will be a video of that. But there was a moment in which Austin had come on the show, and then he had come back because Travis came back on, and he was good. He was feeling great. And I decided that I was going to give it one more hour. I felt good for one more hour before my break. And for him to, he gave me the signal. Do you need me to jump in? I waved him off. I gave him a hot route, and he just accepted it, and he came back on and
Consummate
just like
pro.
nothing
Consummate
happened.
pro.
There was no Antonio Brown drama. He just came back on like he was Larry Fitzgerald and said, "Let's go. I'm ready to hop in here for you." And I cannot appreciate you enough, brother. And then not only that, but when I was on my break, I said, "Can I get one more hour? I just need one more hour." And he said, "You do your thing. I got you, brother." And so for that, I am forever thankful because going 24 hours nonstop is no joke. And so,
there's no question about it, man. I got you guys on this one now. While Johnny birthed TFW, nurtured it in his womb for 9 months as the food he ate nurtured this embryo and grew it from just a little peanut into a full-fledged, whining, crying human being that it is here. And Travis used his massive schlong to help make this whole thing happen. And
Wow.
it worked.
Whoa, dude.
TFW in this space now that what it is. TFW's turned into a vibe. I
Yeah.
gotta say it. TFW is this
Like
vibe, where
the vibe I
community
have on
comes
right
together.
now. The vibe I have on
Like
right
the
now.
vibe you have on right now, like the vibe that everybody brought over the weekend, all of the co-hosts, all the special guests, and most importantly, Whisper Nation, all the people who came in here, and it was just such an amazing culmination of events, and also from our retreat that we had back in March. Now, a lot of people don't know what goes behind the scenes to make this happen. You just see us up here talking, shooting the stuff about football, but there is so much behind the scenes work that gets done, not just by the folks you see here on screen, but people you see behind the screen, not just Chelsea Byers, but Chris Hannon, but John Credit, but everybody else who's on the back scenes here.
Preach.
The rest of our league, man. The people who have been here to support, whether it's Brett Szabo last time running it or Brett Johnson coming up with a couple ideas here and there. It's like everybody puts it together, and it's this community creation that happens. And that's really what fantasy football is, right? You could play a league by yourself and play against 11 other automated computer beings, but that's no fun. It's about the people. It's about the group. It's about us coming together and creating a community where we feel like where we belong and we can be there for one another, jazz each other, all this kinds of stuff. And to see how the community turned out, Whisper Nation turned up for Whisper Nation, just made it, oh my God, I could talk for so long about what an uplifting experience that was, and just how cool it was to see some of the fruits coming through from all this hard work that's been put in over the 2-3 years in the back ones. So just a big up to John and Travis, and especially to you, Whisper Nation.
Especially to Whisper Nation. Want to give that shout out now, guys. Thank you so much for being here. We want to talk a little bit about who's in the chat right now popping off. We've got Pimpin' 8 Easy says, you guys should have got the counselor on. Look, we extended an invitation to the counselor. He denied it. What are you going to do? So, you know, we've got...
Counselor was full.
Yeah, counselor was full. So we've got 12 people in the chat. We've got 14 people in this mock draft. I want to do a little bit of a recap here. Maybe not go through every player, Austin, but kind of some highlights through 3 rounds of some teams maybe we like here. We like that Tyreek Hill.
So Pat kind of standing out to you, right?
Yeah, Tyreek Hill, Pat Mahomes stack was something we talked about. We've got another interesting situation at the 7 spot. Derrick Henry and then Kelsey and now Amari Cooper. So looking for that 3 elite kind of strategy there. Not a full 3 elite, but like you don't mind this. You don't mind these 3 people here. No,
you don't. And
yeah, go for it.
No, I was going to say some of these 2 stacks, we're starting to wrap out the 3rd round here. I think there's some really interesting combos in those 1-2 positions. And that's always kind of when you're looking back on your draft where you start to see the soul of your squad. You know, did you go upside down? Did you go running back core? Did you do something to try to go for a positional advantage? I mean, we saw close, but the 2nd, 3rd round, Evan Silva in the mock draft marathon did something I never seen before.
Yeah.
And paired Travis Kelce and George Kittle up. Like, my goodness, talk about stepping outside the box. But I just wanted to see in these first 2 rounds with mock draft, with Whisper Nation here in the mock draft, what are some of these 1-2 stacks that stand out to you especially? You know, I'm just going to run it while you guys look at these top 2. I'm just going to run it down for those listening to say, here's who we got. Starting at the 1 spot, we got Christian McCaffrey, David Johnson. Then we got number 2, Michael Thomas, Melvin Gordon. 3's going Saquon Barkley, George Kittle. Ezekiel Elliott, James Conner at the 4, Kamara and Chris Godwin at the 5, Dalvin Cook, Lamar Jackson at the 6, Derrick Henry, Travis Kelce, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones for FF Fortune, Devontae Adams and Austin Eckler, Easy Daddy. Stashes as Miles Sanders, Jonathan Taylor, another running back stack. Clyde Edwards-Helaire now in the 1st round, and Kenyon Drake to pair along for Jacob Bley. Big Germ's got Chubb and DeAndre Hopkins. FF Dad's got Joe Mixon and Julio Jones, and Brandon Stan, as we mentioned, Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. Johnny, of all of these teams mentioned right now, what's the 1-2 stack that's got you raising your eyebrows and leaning in the most?
I mean, I got to be honest, Jacob Bley coming through, dude, #1 fan. Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Kenyon Drake as the 1-2 stack is very, very nice. But then I got to give it up. I mean, I know we're only supposed to go for rounds 1 and 2 stack.
Yeah,
but
so keep it on.
No. I'm gonna say FF Fortune.
We'll just hold up. Oh, FF Fortune. Yeah, we know that he's bringing it right here.
Look at this. I mean, yeah. So I'm just saying but I mean, I will say the stack of Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes is very, very interesting. And I got to give it up for the 14 spot because that is a very interesting and bold.
That's our guy, Brandon S. Brandon Stan. Brandon, big ups, man.
Yeah.
You held it down for us in multiple shifts in the mock draft marathon. I remember you hanging in there for the start of it. You took a break, went to bed, and woke up in the morning and joined right back in with us. That was huge. And I don't mind what he's put together here. Mark Ingram and then Devin Singletary to pair up with going.
Sure.
Yeah, but if we're going 1-2 stacks, I think that some of these positional advantage stacks, I got to like. Saquon and George Kittle is really, really fun for me. I also like the Derrick Henry, Travis Kelce. And I like the Dalvin Cook, Lamar Jackson too. I think that's a lot of fun too. We were drafting the 24th hour with Sigmund Bloom from the Football Guys. Just big ups to the Football Guys. They gave us Jeff Hazley and Sigmund Bloom, where they rented him out for the day. But Sigmund Bloom, the legend, was talking to us about 14-team leagues, and he said what it does is it really it really maximizes the positional advantage you get in a 14-team league. So when you get that positional advantage at a QB or a tight end position, it really heightens it there. And so what I'm looking at in this 14-team league is who can get the most positional advantages. And right now I'm liking what I'm seeing out of the middle here and the way they're getting it.
I wanted to just, speaking of these ones, one comment on the 1-2 stack. I love Johnny's point on CEH and Kenyon Drake. Those are two later going running backs that could very easily be both top 5.
Yeah.
And I love the stack right there along with the other ones that were mentioned on this. But I wanted to see, what were some of the things in Mock Draft Marathon that came out, such as the Evan Silva going with the Travis Kelce, George Kittle combo. Was there anything that you saw that stretched your mental limits? That was like, oh my God, I hadn't actually really thought of going that route. But now that I see it here and listen and hear about it, I'm actually considering it now for some of my serious drafts. Was there anything outside of the Evan Silva move that you saw people making that really got you excited, Travis?
Yeah, not to cut you off, but this was a big thing for me. So I had been preaching quarterback late, and we know the depth at quarterback, and I've been talking about it coming into the mock draft marathon. But I got on this kick in the mock draft marathon, so much so that Whisper Nation called me out on it on Twitter.
Oh man, that was
saying,
great.
It was actually Brandon S., I believe, who says death, taxes, and Big Travie drafting Mahomes in the second. And that tended to be a theme, and that was on purpose. It was intentional for me to be trying to draft Mahomes and see how much I hated these teams after doing so, and see how much of the depth I didn't like. But I got to tell you, man, I was able to put together some squads, and that doesn't mean it's going to happen every time, but I did think that I liked a situation where Mahomes didn't like it so much if I was drafting Lamar Jackson. The one other thing I will say is Melvin Gordon, who I had been kind of sleeping on and just writing off because of the backs over there already in Denver. But, Mac from Snap, give credit to him. Lando from Snap, they've been talking me into Melvin Gordon a little bit there. And so seeing him drafted where he was drafted and hearing some of the experts within in our industry kind of talk about him, our brethren, so to speak, it was an eye-opener on Melvin Gordon this year.
That's a really interesting take, Travi. Can you elaborate a little bit on what specifically Melvin Gordon over there now in Denver?
I guess what I wasn't taking into account was really the money. The money that they gave Melvin Gordon signifies that they believe in him. And then also, this offense was more of a mundane offense last year behind Scangarello. And you're watching Pat Shurmur come in, and we've seen what Pat Shurmur's done with running backs, like Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, like some of these running backs that he's had the pleasure of having under him with receiving prowess in their own game, and Melvin Gordon can catch some passes. So it's really an interesting take to think that Pat Shurmur could come in and want to make Melvin Gordon the all-around back, and you could actually sneak your way in with some Melvin Gordon bell cow type production for a lot of the year, as long as he doesn't miss time. And as Johnny has astutely pointed out, he pretty much misses 4 games every year. So there is that.
What about you, Johnny? Do you agree with this? Are you thinking that Melvin Gordon deserves a little bit more love? Obviously, Lando does. He took him in the second, which I think is the earliest we've seen him in one of our mock drafts going. But there's really no reason why, if he's doing what Snap thinks and Mac and Lando suggest, I mean, this guy it's still Melvin Gordon on a run-heavy team, right? Johnny, where do you kind of feel about Melvin Gordon right now?
Yeah, I love Melvin Gordon. I mean, shout out once again to Mac, because I was a little bit hesitant on Melvin Gordon this year, but then when Mac was on one of their shows on YouTube, they were talking up Melvin Gordon, and so it made me rethink. I dove back in, and actually I think his value is great. And here's the other thing that I think is so great, right? The value, the price of Philip Lindsay is also very, very cheap. And so, I know that, Austin, you're a big fan of the handcuffing, and some people might not be a big fan of it. But
a disclaimer, you throw it out there, and I always got a disclaimer now and why I'm a fan of handcuffing.
We're just going to solidify your take. You know what I mean? We're just going to.
I mean, you're on our show regularly, and
we got to let people.
And I'm always elaborating my handcuff strategy.
Yeah,
on it,
I do feel like we're taking him to
Austin.
task a bit on it.
Okay. I apologize.
No, and I'd love to elaborate on this because I stand behind it, and there's a reason why I'm the highest per game points on average per game player in all of our leagues of record. There's a reason why I have won more games than anybody in our leagues.
Yes.
There is a reason why I'm tied for the most amount of championship appearances. And I would love to share with Whisper Nation a little bit of my strategy behind this. I think that's something that separates me out a little bit from the pack, even in this entire fantasy football world. And what that
Absolutely.
strategy is, you watch more and more people jump onto this strategy because it's a good one. And this strategy
Well, and
is
it's
that
important to, not to cut you off, sorry, Austin, but I think it's important for you to elaborate on this consistently. And I want to bring that up because COVID is going to make it such that we're going to have to draw a line on what your handcuff strategy is, on what your handcuff strategy is. And so I think this year more than ever, I don't mind beating a dead horse as far as handcuff, because COVID-19 is going to make it where we need to have that line in the sand. So Austin, tell us. No, hold on. I want to get back to your point was that Philip Lindsay's cheap. And so if you take Melvin Gordon, you can get Philip Lindsay relatively cheap, right?
Yeah, but I do want to also preface this with the saying that, like, this is important to listen to what Austin is saying because he has a contrarian point. And the fact that, like, this is why it's so great because, and why fantasy football is so great is because you can have these contrarian points, and we are here to contest, like, he is a consistent winner. So, and this is why fantasy football is so awesome, because you can have all these different ways on how you can win. There's not just one way to win. And Austin has shown a contrarian way, and he is consistently
more than one way to skin a cat, which I think is the worst phrase
dude?
ever. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, you should not have
I win
said
more
that.
than anybody else in our League of Records, leagues that you guys are both a part of. And here's one of the things that I've done to help myself a solidified roster with a high ceiling throughout the year. When you're picking between a couple of different dudes, like in your early round selections, I'm going to go back a couple of years ago. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago when Antonio Brown and Julio Jones were going consistent 1-2. Those were the guys you were grabbing. They were both expected to get near 2,000 yards. And this was David Johnson's second year. What I did there is I remember Game Time can advocate for this. I shocked the community in this one and took David Johnson at the second overall pick.
Yes.
And here's why I took David Johnson at the second overall pick. It was, we knew that he was going to have a good chance. He was going in the first round, end of the first round at the time. But what made me so excited about David Johnson was that he had that clear-cut role of being the lead dog, being the bell cow, being the third down back who's catching those passes. But what stood out to me is that he had Chris Johnson behind him as the backup running back. Now, this was no CJ2K. This was not Chris Johnson doing all his crazy, crazy stuff, but he was still a very good running back who was now relegated to number 2 duties. My thinking on it was, hey, if David Johnson goes down and I'm able to grab Chris Johnson in those double-digit rounds as security, Chris Johnson is going to come in and fill in as an immediate RB1, no questions asked. So if I took another guy other than David Johnson, who maybe in my analysis is going to be finishing with 10, 20, 30 points more over the course of the season, but we all know that's a crapshoot anyways. What I do know, though, with more certainty is who's going to be backing him up and what that roster and opportunity situation for that backup running back is going to look like, God forbid something ended up happening to him. So when you have a situation with a bell cow back and then a legitimate running back behind him, not so legitimate that they're going to be cutting into the carries, or better yet, you've got such a superstar running back ahead that they're not going to fill in anybody behind him swooping out carries unless you're spelling them, that gives you a real advantage. So when I look at these ones right here, there's a big difference for me between Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott, because Saquon Barkley's handcuff, maybe it's going to be I mean, they just picked up another player over there.
Dion Lewis was there, but I don't think he'll be the direct handcuff. And Wayne Gallman is still on the roster. I think
exactly.
I think it'll be more of a situation that could be anybody. It's much more ambiguous than even it was last year, where it was just Wayne Gallman, and even then it was like, ugh, like you weren't excited about
Wayne Gallman.
Yeah,
he did
exactly.
all right.
Yeah,
low end RB2 status when that comes in. But if Ezekiel Elliott goes down, who's filling him in? Tony Pollard.
Exactly.
And Tony Pollard, he showed us last year, dude can play, right? So if you've got a guy who's not going to be cutting in there, but is right behind and is going to fill that in, and most importantly, you can get them super late for cheap, I think that's an amazing backfield to get your real stranglehold on, because that line isn't changing. That play call style isn't changing. And then it fills in right there. So if I'm drafting Saquon, I'm not aiming for Dion Lewis or Wayne Gallman. But if I'm getting Ezekiel Elliott, I'm sure as hell going to get Tony Pollard, or another guy who's got such a clear backup behind him,
so Walker,
which is a little different of a situation.
Yeah, Walker Bass says, interesting take, loves the take, but at the same time, the better backup could cut in more. So you're saying, he's saying if the talented backup kind of could cut in more to these talented starters. You have a take on that?
Now, for me,
Like Nick Chubb Hunt is a
Absolutely.
little different, but yeah.
Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt is a little bit different, right? Because that backup is so good that it's going to be cutting in. That one doesn't qualify for me in the same way. I'm going to be a little bit more hesitant swooping up Nick Chubb in redraft leagues right now because he's not going to have as full of a ceiling as a Ezekiel Elliott or a Saquon would, because they're not going to get cut in from their competition behind him. But a situation like Derrick Henry, who they just had the rookie running back come in there who's looking really good and you're excited, but that rookie's not cutting in to Derrick Henry's work share.
Right.
Now, if it is a rookie or it's another running back who's cutting in, then it's a different scenario for me. Like Miles Sanders, we know that Boston Scott could be over there eating in a little bit.
Dude,
I want to say that I was third row. Thank you very much at a WWE event.
We're back.
I was actually.
I was
Brandon,
second
we're
row
back.
in that same event.
No, you
we're back.
weren't.
All right. I was second row at that same
third
event.
row. I was third row at a
guys. Johnny looks like he's in a biker gang. Pimpin' Ain't Easy says.
Yes, I love it. Dude, that's my
Sons
look.
of Anarchy, dude.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Whisper Nation. My computer.
Before Austin, I want you to make this emphatic point on your take. I do. But before you do, let's get a little recap of the teams a little bit here. Want to touch in with Whisper Nation
through, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we do it like this? Let's touch in because we've taken a look at Whisper Nation right here. How about we take through the 6th rounds? Now they're drafting the 7th round, but we're going to pay no attention to the 7th round. Through the first 6 rounds, which running back situation are you liking the most? Which wide receiver situation has got you going? Ooh. And then we'll talk about who has your favorite squads thus far built through the first 6 rounds. So Johnny, we are looking first. I know you like. We're going to actually start with the wide receivers because we know you like the CEH Kenyon Drake combo.
Yeah.
Well, no, let's stick with the running backs actually because other teams
Yeah.
have had a chance to add into that. Sticking with the running backs, whose running back situation through the first 6 rounds has got you right now going? Ooh.
Well, I want to say first of all, Pimpin' 80. Hold on, Pimpin' 80 Easy said he talking about me. He looks like the Undertaker in 2001.
Up, bro.
Yeah,
Hold on. I know.
This is what he does.
Hey,
man.
no,
Welcome
hold
in.
on.
Welcome in. It's like a toddler
We're
at
holding,
the edge.
bro.
Give
It's
me
like
a
the toddler
second.
at the edge of the Grand Canyon. You're just hoping he doesn't fall off. You just got to grab
like that
him.
kid in your high school class, and you're like, all right, does anybody have any more questions? And everyone's like, we're ready to leave. And someone's like, and then Johnny's like, did you assign the homework yet?
No.
No.
First of all, Pimpin' Ain't Easy comes through with he looks like the Undertaker in 2001, and that has to be honestly one of the biggest compliments I've ever gotten in my life.
No, that was
So
the
thank you
worst
very much.
Undertaker ever, dude. You're talking about the Undertaker on the motorbike, keep rolling, Limp
Okay,
Bizkit Undertaker?
hold on. First of all,
No,
to
dude.
be compared to
No.
Undertaker at all is an honor.
Fair,
so,
fair enough.
So
fair
thank you very
enough.
much.
Yes, Undertaker
okay.
at all would be an honor.
Yes. So
but Biker Undertaker was the worst Undertaker,
doesn't
and
matter.
you can quote me, dude. It
okay.
does matter.
No, it doesn't.
It does matter.
Okay, if you were compared to Tom Brady at any point of his life, would you be thrilled?
Is Tom Brady as a baby? No. I wouldn't want to be Tom Brady, baby.
No, somebody
You know.
talking about my abdominal definition his rookie year. I'm not stoked.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. You guys are unbelievable. But we're talking about
Unbelievably precise.
Yeah.
We're
now,
talking
can we
about-
talk about Whisper Nation's teams here,
We're
Johnny?
talking about running backs through the first 6 rounds, Johnny.
Jesus.
Who's got you right now excited on this one? We know in the first 2, Jacob Bley killing it with Kenyon Drake and CEH. But has any other drafters in Whisper Nation right now leveled up to that spot? Has anybody here made you turn your head and say, I like what they've actually done now with their running back cores through the first 6 rounds? Johnny, what do you think?
I'm looking through here. I still stick by my one of Jacob Bley and his 3 running, and then he added Leonard Fournette in the 3rd, which I think is absolutely disgusting. Like that's nice. But if I'm looking at the other 3, it's got to be this one spot, right? W Bass. Great job here.
Winner of the Kamara jersey, Walker Bass.
Yes, but
Heyo.
yeah, like this is nice. Christian McCaffrey, David Johnson, and Todd Gurley. Say what you want about Todd Gurley and David Johnson, and whether you're, worried about their injury concern or
Volume play no matter what,
yes,
though, right?
they're both volume plays, and that's why I am completely okay with it, because I think that both of them are going to get enough volume that, and we've seen it. Not only have do I think that they're going to get enough volume? But we've seen their coaching staff like not care if their running backs are productive or not. They're just going to keep rolling them out there because they're like, I'm going to be right one of these times. And so
That's so perfect because they've done that, right? With
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien, Lamar Miller just keep running.
Carlos
Atlanta,
Hyde.
Devontae
Yeah.
Freeman keep running.
Yep.
It's like they're not really running.
Exactly. So
Kind of strolling.
from a straight volume play, like those three are very, very nice. I like what they did there quite a lot.
What
Quite a
about
lot.
you, Travis? Do you agree here with Johnny's take, or is he missing any pieces right now in the running back stacks through the first 6 rounds?
I mean, I think both those teams are probably the best bet as far as running back. Like, I don't necessarily love Todd Gurley or Leonard Fournette this year, but I love where they got him. I love them being their third running back.
Yeah.
I continue to like Brandon's team here.
Yeah, that was
Mark Ingram, Devin Singletary, Jordan Howard isn't a terrible stack. It's definitely a poor man's stack to these other 2 running backs. But I kind of like that.
Double dip in the game, arguably.
Yeah, and so I think he'll be okay there. But I also I'm going to give a second best only because of the 2 running backs. I don't love Keyshawn Vaughn so much right now. But Alvin Kamara and Chris Carson, that's a nice 1-2 running back
I looked
combo
at that
there.
one.
But the third running back doesn't obviously put him in the realm as the other guys. But that's a good 1-2 punch at running back.
Like
you mentioned that, so I'm not going to myself.
The last one I want to note, because I did like the Alvin Kamara and Chris Carson. I like 1-2 punch. I love those 2 right there. But I do want to say smooth 1074 or 1074.
Hope he's back in here. I don't think he is. He's been auto drafting.
Oh well, then I'm not gonna bring it up then.
Yeah. All right, so we're moving on to wide receivers.
That's right. Who's now we've got 7 rounds. We can go ahead and just expand it into that as they keep it on moving. With the 7 rounds we've got going right now, Travis, who do you likes wide receiver cores the most right now? And keep in mind, Whisper Nation, we're playing with 3 wide receivers on your roster. So with that said, Travis, who right now is got your eyebrows raised the most looking at these teams' wide receivers through the first 7 rounds?
I think I'm going to give it to Lando Snap as the number 1 here. Michael Thomas, Kenny Galladay, Terry McLaurin. That wide receiving trio is straight hot fire.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan there. But I'm going to give a close second to Big Germ because I like what he's done here. DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Marquise Brown. Yeah. So if you look at those wide receivers, they all fit in the wide receiver number they're supposed to fit into. Wide receiver 1, DeAndre Hopkins. A wide receiver 2, DK Metcalf. Wide receiver 3, Marquise Brown. It's like the perfect wide receiver, in my opinion, in those slots. Oh. Whereas Lando Snap, though, he gets the nod because he's got wide receiver 1s all the way down, in my opinion, in his 3 slots there. So
I do want to mention 2 things here. FF Fortune as a really nice. I mean, this guy he's like a pro at drafting by now. Like this guy, Allen Robinson, Michael Gallup, Deontay Johnson. I mean, just taking it each round the best wide receiver available. That's great.
I want to highlight on FF Fortunes real quick on this one before I get away from it, because this is something that came out in the mock draft marathon, the 24 straight hour marathon we just completed yesterday at 10 a.m. This came up a handful of times about Michael Gallup. I know you're going to like this one, Johnny. Yeah. Michael Gallup, statistically speaking, is right there with Amari Cooper as who the real number 1 in Dallas is. Michael Gallup is also someone with draft pedigree. He's someone who's shown a rapport with Dak Prescott, and the number is substantiated. And this is, in my opinion, you might be able to get yourself a bargain over here where you're getting some guy way later who you presume is the number 2, but is actually going to emerge as the number 1 when it's all said and done. And the other one, Deontay Johnson. Now, I'm a big Juju Smith-Schuster fan. I know everybody here on the show is, but it's not unfair to say that based on Juju Smith-Schuster's very small sample size. I mean, I know he went off his second year, but his third year he didn't, and we had Big Ben sitting on the bench the entire time, but he's coming into his 4th year. But he's still just in his 4th year right now. I've only seen 3 years, and he's only really had 1 year that was outstanding. And maybe you could say that Deontay Johnson, who's going to be having, you presume, less defensive focus on him, and he just balled out his rookie season, could actually be emerging as the wide receiver to really keep your eye on over there. Maybe he doesn't supplant. Maybe he doesn't jump over Juju Smith-Schuster, but he's right there. And so FF Fortune, I got to give a big shout out in that regard as well.
On 6 less targets to the Gallup point, on 6 less targets and 13 less receptions, Gallup only had 82 less yards and 2 less touchdowns. He had an identical points per game as Amari Cooper with 10.5. Michael Gallup is being highly undervalued in fantasy drafts right now. It needs to be smashed all over the place. I hope that people don't drive the ADP up, but I would punt Amari Cooper and go with Michael Gallup all day, every day that you can.
And then the last thing I want to say is Smooth 1074. He did jump back in. He's been jumping back in and forth. So I do, since he is back, I want to make note because his team is really good. Ezekiel Elliott, James Conner as his 2 running backs, and then he gets Matt Breida, who I think is a very, very good value in the 7th. And then you look at his wide receivers. He's got Mike Evans, Robert Woods, and Stephon Diggs. So he's got a really high upside guy in Mike Evans. He's also got another really high upside in Stephon Diggs from a week-to-week value. I think he's going to be good at the end of the year. He'll have over 1,000 yards receiving. And then he's got Robert Woods. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And then he's got Robert Woods, who I think is going to be really solid from a week-to-week perspective. And so I think that this guy is drafting a very, very nice team.
Yeah, I like that well-rounded approach there on the receivers. And speaking of that point we just talked about of Gallup, Cooper, or of Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, I think over there in Tampa Bay you got a similar situation with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I get what Chris Godwin did was godly last year from the targets, the receptions, the touchdown perspective. But Mike Evans didn't slouch last year either. He spent a handful of weeks as that number 1 wide receiver with Jameis Winston QB in the ball. And Mike Evans has never dipped below 1,000 yards in his entire career. And the dude's like, I mean, it feels like he's been in the league a long time, but he's still only 26 years old. And he has just shown a consistent ability to perform. He did so last year. And I think it's a fair toss-up. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and even give the edge, put it on the record right now, that Mike Evans is going to finish ahead of Chris Godwin, even with Tom Brady. Even with Tom Brady throwing the ball. I think it's a fair take, and because Mike Evans is going later, I love that value swoop there. And then like we said with Robert Woods, this man, all he does is beat his ADP. And Stephon Diggs coming into a new situation with that explosive style of play, with a quarterback who loves to throw the ball deep. Accurate, not so much, but deep, let it ride. And Stephon Diggs there for that high upside play. I really like that. Well, Johnny Travis, I think you did a great job here breaking down these wide receivers. But now let's factor in the rest of the team. So we talked a little bit about the receivers. We've talked a little bit about the running backs. We got more positions in football, though. We got tight ends. We got quarterbacks. No kickers and defenses here, folks. We're only doing 13 rounds, getting rid of the kickers and defenses, and which Evan Silva said was a very efficient and smart play. Thank you for that. And now, though, factoring in the rest of these positions, quarterback and tight end, through now 8 rounds. Johnny, who is standing out to you right now's team that you're really liking from a more well-rounded perspective as we get to the end of these double-digit rounds, 1 through 8?
I mean, I really like Brandon Stan's team here at the 12 spot. Like, I'm really impressed with what he's done there at that 12 spot because I know how difficult it is as far as
at the 14th. Yeah.
Or sorry, at the 14th spot. I know how difficult it is to get it. You know, how you have to like swing for the fences on one pick and you get value in the other pick. And so for him to get, and not only that, but then be bold and say, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, which is unusual. I just think what he's done here is very, very nice. And then, I must say through 24 hours of mock drafting, Whisper Nation, you guys have just shown up and shown out and continuously made these mock drafts so difficult to grade because, I mean, I mentioned just this one team, but I'm looking down like the row and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a good team. That's a good team. That's a good team. And they've just done a very, very good job down the row or down, all the picks of draft.
I mean, they've been listening to the show. They've been listening to the advice. We know what they're here.
Yeah, I got to give it back up to Smooth 1074, come back to his team, because not only did he get that wide receiver core paired with the 2 running backs, but then Dak Prescott in the 6th, followed up with Evan Ingram back in the 8th. I think his team is like one of the best starting rosters we've got rocking right now. So I kind of like his team. And then, yeah, I would go back to Brandon Stan as far as a complete team. And I don't know, man. I might be coming around on the fact that, well, I don't know. FF Fortune, man.
Dude, this guy
Like
is
this
just
guy,
a
he
pro.
just knows how to draft. Like Kyler Murray's there, got the wide receivers, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones. Like he cements his Aaron Jones upside play with a Josh Jacobs who we know is going to get the touches and carries. Like I think that's the way to do it as far as running back combos are concerned. And then he takes upside with Darrell Henderson, but he's basically saying my wide receiver is going to be my flex.
Yeah.
With Deontay Johnson here, so I think his starting roster is pretty solid, man.
And what I want to say about FF Fortune is this guy has been with us week to week mock drafting, and the way that he mock drafts is different every single time, and he just makes it work. Like if I'll be honest with you, Whisper Nation, which I always am, but I'm just gonna say it out loud. FF Fortune, if there was a professional mock drafter, FF Fortune would be a professional mock drafter. I'm just telling you, like this guy is made for mock drafting.
He's been here since the beginning, as Johnny says, and he's highly like Austin. He's probably in our top 3 every time.
I don't think there's been a week where he hasn't, and even if he's kind of flirting right on the edge of it there, it always is demonstrating a clear competency of what's going on, which brings me to a point I wanted to ask you guys about related to the mock draft marathon. As Whisper Nation right now is getting the first 10 rounds, maybe after 10 rounds, we can revisit this squad and see if there's anybody who's added a couple of extra pieces to elevate their team. But the point I wanted to make from the mock draft marathon, I heard listening to a lot of the other expert analysts talking about other leagues that they've been in. Leagues like the Fishbowl, where it's a best ball league that has a ton of really weird qualifiers. We're talking like half an extra point for a first down or minus points for a pick 6. All kinds of different things like this. You run the ball for X amount of yards, you get a bonus point. Things like that. And it's never been such an appealing one to me. But when we heard him break it down, I started to say, oh, if you are an expert and you've been playing a lot of fantasy football and doing a lot of standard or half point PPR leagues, your teams are going to end up kind of looking similar, right? You know which guys you like at each position. You know how you like to stack them together. But if you then factor in these really wild rules, it demands an extra level of analysis, awareness, and ability to piece dots together that are not so plainly strung in one line. So I wanted to kind of ask you on that was one of the points that I heard some of these other analysts talk about, and it made me actually a little bit more excited about potentially being a part of a league that has some really out there rules. I've kind of leaned away from those in the past because I'm like, this isn't real fantasy football or something ridiculous like that, because it's a game based on a game based on a game. But from that perspective, was there anything related to that of like wild rules, or even then anything else you heard mentioned from the other analysts that came on and co-hosted on the mock draft marathon, of maybe different ways to think about not just players, but think about league constructs, like thinking about different ways to enjoy fantasy football outside of just, the straight up X's and O's, like different ways to test your knowledge, different ways to build leagues, different ways to come together. Travis, was there anything that you heard on there, kind of coming from that perspective that sat with you?
Yeah, I'll just say that the common theme, and I like that you brought this up, Austin, because the common theme this year is COVID and extra roster spots and extra IR spots, and what are we going to do about this whole thing? And man, it kind of really sucks to do all this extra work as a league or figure all these things out. But Nate Hamilton, Dominate FF at Dominate FF on Twitter, was really an inspiration when he said, "Look, I just look at this as another way to be competitive, to try and do my best in a league, and to try and use this as an opportunity to get better at fantasy football, to be a better waiver wire specialist, to trade better." All these different things that are happening. I know it can be a little frustrating, and I know you can get down on it because, we don't know about the football season, right? We don't know what's going to happen. But as Johnny told me this morning, we were talking about it in a business meeting, and we said, well, what if there isn't a season? And he says, well, we can't control that, and you can't control that. So what you can control is the way you're going to react as a fantasy football GM to these things that happen. And I think that's honestly exciting. And so I would just say that for me, a way to look at things differently through that COVID lens was a big thing in the mock draft marathon that, Nate kind of brought to the forefront about. But I would second what you said too. Mac brought up some interesting leagues and some interesting things they're doing for their listener league and all these tiers. But it's pretty, it's all over the place. I just love this game and the way it's evolved. I think that was a big thing too, to take some of these experts that had been in here, Sigmund Bloom, Evan Silva for 13, 15 plus years, Smitty from the Fantasy Football Show, that have been doing this a long time. They just said, things have changed over the year and we've had to adapt. And it's just a kudos to them, and it's a kudos to this game that it forces you to adapt.
Well, yeah.
Back to that point, I want to get Johnny's point on here, because Johnny, you actually helped illuminate me a couple of weeks back to the reality of a COVID situation eliminating the preseason, which nobody was really happy about in the beginning, but then you got me actually a little bit more excited by it, because it said, yo, look, we're not going to have tangible examples to point to and see why you'd be improving this guy's status or ADP in your own book. Like a couple years back when we saw Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes connect on that crazy 70-yard touchdown bomb, he went on my opinion from a Tyreek Hill as being way overdrafted. Now, oh my God, he's being so underdrafted. And I was so happy to grab him in the 3rd round. He was the #1 wide receiver that year by a long shot. So Johnny, you helped me see that no preseason this year is actually going to give you an advantage if you're willing to put in the work. If you go ahead and look at the teams and the dynamics and really what's going on, like for instance, like an Alan Lazard type situation, we know that he's right now cemented as that #2 for Aaron Rodgers because Devin Funchess opted out, but he's still being slept on crazy. If in that first preseason, he caught 2 touchdowns for 100 yards, he's jumping up 5 spots that next week, right? So Johnny, you helped me see that this is really just an opportunity. Are there any other opportunities that you are now seeing that there's this crazy situation that COVID, but also just the craziness of fantasy football and how it is? Are you thinking of anything a little bit differently, or maybe seeing any opportunities that you hadn't before?
Well, I mean, a big opportunity obviously is using. Okay, fantasy football is not only, I mean, there's the draft. There's so many aspects of fantasy football, right? And I don't want it to be overlooked at, like, there is a big part of fantasy football that is straight up luck. Like, that needs to be stated, and it needs to be a reality to a lot of people. As much as, like, we all like to say, oh, we're so skilled at fantasy football and all of this stuff. Yeah, but there is a big part of it that is luck. It's your schedule, the matches, the matching up, there's so many things, but you could do the best that you possibly can to hedge your bet against those, and that's what you do, by making all these bets or picks based on certain stats or whatever it is, right? But the big thing is here is just I absolutely love this. At the end of the day, pick guys that you enjoy watching, because at the end of the day, this is a game that you play because it brings some kind of joy. You are in a league of people that you enjoy being around, and so if you do not draft the people that you like watching, then you're just going to have a bad time. So
especially if those players don't pan out. So if you try to play by the book, and then you pick all these players that are supposed to be by the book, and you didn't like them to begin with, you're going to be like, what the hell, man? I hated this team. Yeah. Whereas if you could draft some guys that you like, I think Big Germ's in this draft right now, and in our Dynasty League, he took Baker and OBJ. And his team didn't pan out all that well because Cleveland wasn't doing so well. But he had fun drafting those players, and I think he had fun rooting for those players because it was fun to do. And so, there's kind of a hedge your bet kind of thing, like you were saying, where you draft these players you like. And that's where this becomes a game. Like, we're not sitting up here telling you, like, if you don't draft by the book, you don't know what you're doing. Like, it's at the end of the game, it's a made-up game about a game, man.
Yeah.
You reach a half a round or a little bit more to grab a guy you really like but is a little bit lower. When it all shakes out, just like you said, Travis, there's so many variables that are based on probability that you're getting thrown up there. I would rather lose and have fun than lose and not have fun. And if you got guys you enjoy watching and that you still have hope for every week, because maybe it's a running back on your favorite team, and you're like, I'm always going to be rooting for this squad. I know that they can do it, like any good fan would say. That's going to be a lot more fun than, you say, picking the best player on the team you hate, because you're like, damn, I really hate the Vikings, but Dalvin Cook's talent is undeniable.
Right.
I'm going with it anyways. And then he doesn't pan out as shiny as you're expecting him to. Like, that's just the worst. Then you're like, damn, this guy's not helping my team. Right. And I feel like I betrayed my squad. And go with the guy you like if it's that close on it.
Right. And then I'll say too, on top of that, like you asked about, the preseason and that benefit. This is where people who are tuning in right now, like we have 20 people right now watching this mock draft, and we appreciate every single one of you guys. And you guys are going to have this advantage because you're going to be able to see risers and fallers. That is where the key is going to be this year. Is looking at where the ADP is of these players, because that is going to give you a real sense of what the community thinks of these players, and you can get a real judge of like, okay, what do I need to keep an eye out for, because this guy is rising, like Ronald Jones over the last few weeks, his ADP has rise significantly. And so if you're consistently watching, our we do mock drafts every Monday night. If you watch how their ADP acts over every single Monday night, then you could say, okay, this person is rising in ADP because of the consensus. The consensus must be on to something. So then you could take a deeper dive into that player, and it makes it nice.
Looking at those deeper dives right now, I wanted to ask you, which players do you expect to see continuing to rise? Johnny, we've talked a lot about Terry McLaurin, and you were trying to hustle him from me months and months and months ago, before anyone was even talking about Terry McLaurin, when Brett Johnson was trying to deny the skill of Terry McLaurin to me left and right, and trying to say whatever scrub that he had was actually on Washington's team was actually the guy to own, which was just complete silliness. But we've all now seen the light, and we all know Terry McLaurin is rising. We've talked a little bit about Alan Lazard right now, who T. Garrett FF just took in the 10th round. I saw The Athletic had a really nice article on Lazard today talking about his rise in the Packers system and the confidence Devontae Adams has with Lazard. What are some of these players right now that are being criminally underdrafted? And I'm not talking about Devontae Freeman, Josh Gordon, or Antonio Brown, who are all wise picks to take with your last pick in the draft. But guys we know that are playing right now. Who are some players you expect to see rise throughout ADP? And if we had a preseason, you'd expect to see doing impressive things on the field that would catapult their ADP. Travis, who is standing out to you right now as some of those players, running backs, tight ends, anybody to keep an eye on?
I'll just stick with the theme of this 10th round here. I'd say N'Keal Harry, that was drafted by Brandon Stan here. I think N'Keal Harry's a guy that was drafted in the first round last year as a wide receiver, was the 101 in a lot of dynasty drafts last year. And
Smitty from the football show said he had him as a top 5 within 5 years, or within 3 years on Dynasty.
Yeah, and I would just say that the talent is undeniable. It was undeniable in college. He balled out at ASU. And his style of play fits so perfectly with Cam's inaccuracies sometimes at the quarterback position throwing the football. And his back shoulder prowess, that being N'Keal Harry, is going to fit really well with that. And so I think that there's a situation here where we could be seeing, like, in a normal offseason, we could be seeing some baller plays out of N'Keal Harry that really just skyrocket his value this year. So he's one. I like Noah Fant. I've been talking up Noah Fant all offseason. I think if we could see some things in the preseason, Noah Fant kind of getting more of a repertoire with Drew Lock in the offseason, we'd be able to kind of, his value is already kind of getting up there, but I think he's one that's like one that I like that's maybe being undervalued a little bit as far as what he can do as a breakout.
I really like those takes. How about you, Game Time? Who are some guys you're seeing right now going in these later rounds, double-digit rounds or close to it, that you expect to see rising as the season gets closer, and guys that if we had a preseason, you'd expect to be catapulting up the ranks?
I definitely think a guy like Boston Scott is definitely, I understand he's not going to be an RB1, guys. He's not there. That's not in his reality, right? But he's a guy, like, he just went off the board at the 11-11 spot. And I mean, if you're going upside down drafting and you're getting, and I frankly, even if you don't go upside down drafting and you just want to grab a bunch of running backs, I love grabbing Boston Scott, because this guy, when you looked at the percentage of what he was on the field with Miles Sanders, and I understand everyone's talking about Miles Sanders, he's the new hotness, and I get it, and I like him. I'm coming around to him, but you have to realize, like, everyone gets this idea of a bell cow running back, and what does that mean? And you have to realize that even if they're a bell cow running back, like, there are still going to be 10 to 12 touches per game, where the quote unquote bell cow running back is not going to be on the field and going to get touches. And to me, that's going to be Boston Scott, who also has the touchdown upside. Like, everyone's forgetting that, Miles Sanders down the stretch had just as many goal line carries as Boston Scott did. And they didn't bring in anybody that is a real concern there. So I just think Boston Scott is a tremendous value. If you need a running back spot that will be a nice flex or an RB2 spot, down the stretch, I really like that value.
Yeah, Frank Reich's always used multiple running backs. So, I think that's a pretty valuable one. What was that, Austin?
I was gonna give my contribution on this one. I got a couple of wide receivers I could talk about here, but I think we have to mention, because we're not having a preseason, so we don't know. And so we don't know who this guy is going to be. But if we knew who the starting running back for the Washington football team was, that would be a guy you'd be seeing going in single-digit rounds. And we're not seeing any of them go in single-digit rounds. We're not seeing Adrian Peterson. We're not seeing Bryce Love. We're not, of course, seeing J.D. McKissick, who people forget about. But most importantly, I think we know we've got the rookie over there. We're talking about Antonio Gibson, of course.
Yeah.
He's my personal favorite to be taking the early down work. I think it's going to be a really good committee situation throughout the year. There's a lot of quality guys over there, but who do you think right now is going to be leading the way in Washington? Because if we knew who was leading the way, there's no way that guy's going in the double-digit rounds.
It's really a situation where I just don't know. Like AP last year, you would think is going to be the guy, but Gibson is another guy that has been talked up by this coaching staff. So that's a situation where I'm probably going to invest in Gibson, because he also has the pass catching repertoire. And so this is a team that's going to be down a lot. So the upside has really landed more with Gibson. And so I'd rather just put the upside on my team than AP. So that's the one I'm going to roll with. But I would just temper expectation. You can get him in the later rounds, and that's fine. But temper expectations that you're going to get that earth-shattering running back within the last few rounds of a team that's just not going to be very good on offense, or doesn't project to be. I want to hit some of the stuff in the comments here. So we've got Travis Park talking a little smack here. He says, stoked to be in the listener league with you guys this year. I apologize for whipping you guys this year in advance.
Oh, okay.
So he's coming at you there.
All right.
Apology not accepted.
Yeah.
And then we have ASMR under the cupboard. Got any thoughts on the new Lamar Miller signing to the Patriots? I want to talk a little bit about this because obviously Lamar Miller was signed to the Patriots today. So it just adds
a couple hours ago.
Yeah, just adds a little bit more muddiness to the water over there in the running back situation. I would say that for me, it says a little bit more about Sony Michel than it does about anything else in that backfield. I'm still wanting to invest in a guy like Damian Harris at the end of rounds or at the end of drafts, and a guy like maybe even Rex Burkhead at the end of rounds. And I think James White's role is still secure in that offense. It will always be secure.
If James White slips in drafts because of this news, I think it's great.
Especially in PPR. Like, you should capitalize in PPR.
Because I do think that James White's role, like Travis said, is completely solidified. So I think it's good here. And then we had ASMR under Gesicki is definitely undervalued right now, especially with so many receiving options out. And I 100% agree with this. We have talked significantly about Mike Gesicki and the already last year, the amount he played in the slot, and then you add on the fact that ASMR says that they haven't added anything significant in the wide receiver, room.
Yeah,
it makes me say yes. Mike Gesicki is definitely him. Mike Gesicki and Jonnu Smith are my two favorite late tight end option. I know that Big Travie likes Noah Fant, and that's a good option as well. It's just a little bit more, up for a little bit more competition there up for grabs. Whereas I think it's a clear path for Jonnu Smith and Gesicki. But if you can walk away with those two dart throws at tight end position, I would be ecstatic, because I have 100% confidence, and I said that 100% confidence that one of these two will be a top 7 tight end. One of those two.
You've been good about picking tight ends in years past. I think those are really good takes. I wanted to plug here too a couple of my wide receivers that if we had a preseason and we saw a couple of big plays coming out, you'd see their ADP skyrocketing outside of the double-digit rounds, and we can just take a look at the first 2 picks in the 12th round here by Brandon Stan 26 and FF Dad. Brashad Perriman and Deshaun Jackson, to me, are 2 wide receivers that have a path to being the clear-cut number 1 and the deep threat, the volume option and the deep threat big play option for their teams. And here it is. Deshaun Jackson has not seemed to lose a step. He also hasn't seemed to get any healthier, which is not good for him. But even at age 33, last year he was still burning fools, and I think he's going to be
speed
there.
isn't something that like goes away relatively. Like usually speed stays. It's can the body keep up, right?
Yeah. I mean, you had T.O., you had Terrell Owens still run a 4.46.
Yeah, he was like beating Tyreek Hill
at 50, at the age of 50.
Yeah, you're going to lose a couple of things, but straight line speed is not one of them. And Deshaun Jackson is a true veteran who's got a lot of other tricks in the bag. And we know that there's a ton of new receivers over there in Philadelphia. We know that Alshon Jeffrey, the ever under-oiled Megatron-looking kind of plotter running up and down the field, for whatever reason, they still like him. They still want him there. And when he's playing, when he rarely does, he is still pretty productive. I don't think he deserves all the opportunities, but he still gets them. And I have him on my dynasty team, so I watch him pretty closely. But Deshaun Jackson, in that one game we saw last year to start the season, oh my goodness. Looks like Carson Wentz is #1 target. And if you get Carson Wentz playing healthy, playing at that MVP level that he's capable of, and Deshaun Jackson is his #1 with also that volume and deep threat ability, my goodness, is he being criminally underdrafted. And I think you could say a similar story about Brashad Perriman, a 26-year-old, 6'2" first-round draft pick who was now brought over intentionally by Adam Gase to the New York Jets, going to be catching passes from Sam Big Arm Darnold, who's now, they just lost Robbie Anderson. There's targets that have been vacated. And we saw Brashad Perriman just murder the end of the season with 3 straight 100-yard games and 4 touchdowns after Chris Godwin and Mike Evans vacated the field over there in Tampa Bay. The Jets picked him up. They brought him on there to a 1-year, let's see you do it deal. And if, like we said with Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes had that huge hookup, if we see Brashad Perriman and Sam Darnold begin to click right away, he's also being criminally underdrafted there in the 12th round. So
we see it. We joke about it, and we had the Devontae Parker 5th-year breakout, and we want to joke about it that it's Corey Davis. But what if the answer is really Brashad Perriman, which would indicate like there is more evidence that Brashad Perriman could be the breakout guy than it is Corey Davis. What I continue to bring it back to, and this is what I like about Brashad Perriman, is the fact that last year Robbie Anderson, we saw a big monster preseason game, and we saw the ending weeks of Robbie Anderson with Sam Darnold. And we got so excited, and Robbie Anderson was going in the 7th and 8th round of fantasy mock drafts, and we love people love the value. And then all of a sudden, Brashad Perriman, who the last few weeks really popped off for the Bucs, and then they bring him to the New York Jets, and nobody's really talking about. I mean, he had a little bit of a heater, a couple months ago, but then since it's cooled off, and I just don't understand. Like, if you're getting him. Again, Robbie Anderson was going in the 7th and 8th round last year, and Brashad Perriman is either going undrafted or in the 14th round. I think that's tremendous value. Like, it's worth the stab.
Yeah, there's nothing about Perriman's ADP that scares me off, and I think it should be somebody we're smashing a lot of. If you believe in Chris Herndon, as Stepmom Lauren has been talking a lot about Chris Herndon being a breakout tight end, you should have just as much faith in Brashad Perriman taking over as a #2 volume option. And if he's the volume option, this is a big play guy. So then we're talking about a big play guy being a volume option, and every time that happens, fireworks happen. And I think that's good. And look, the win total for the Jets is so low. Like, they are going to be so bad. They're going to be throwing so much. Like, give me Brashad Perriman. Austin, you've totally sold me on this. I remember laughing at you at the beginning of the offseason on this take and just saying, I don't know. And then you dig into it, and there's like, so kudos to you on seeing the storylines here with the narrative.
Fair shake.
Yeah,
he's over there in Baltimore.
Well, and it's like it's funny because I had him on a championship roster last year and played him in the final week, and he didn't do much. But in Tampa Bay, he had those games without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin where he really balled out, and it was like this thing of like, oh. Yeah. Sometimes we need to pay more attention to those guys that are balling out at the end of years. Mm-hmm. Can they roll that momentum into something else? And are they getting slept on a little bit? And that seems to be the case with Brashad Perriman's ADP at the moment.
We know Derrick Henry did it a couple of years back. He had those playoff series where he's just getting 200-yard chunkers. every game. And we've been waiting for Derrick Henry to break out, and we saw him do it then at the end of the year. And then he just straight up carried it into the next season with a 5.0 yards per carry and like 27 touchdowns in the first half. And
Gotta
everyone's
give,
now just banking on that.
Which is why you should not sleep on Kenyon Drake.
Want to give a big shout out to Superstar Titus back in here with us. He was with us in the mock draft marathon saying, "What up, guys? TFW, TFW." Or no, TFW for the win, excuse me. Appreciate that love in there. And appreciate everybody in here. We've got 16 people watching with us now. Make sure we're hitting that like. I mean, you'd think they'd be sick of us now after 24 hours, but hell no.
They
Whisper
can't get
Nation
We
enough
thought we
here.
were sick of mock draft. This is our 25th mock draft.
26 for me. I did one earlier.
Yeah, he did one earlier.
Yeah, I couldn't. They were like, when I jumped in with Snap's mock draft, they go, "Wait, are you kidding me? You're really mocking right now?"
Well, and then hold on.
stuff.
I want to bring this up because here was what was even crazier. He joined Snap's mock draft, which those guys are great, and that mock draft was awesome because I watched it as Travis was doing it. But get this, Whisper Nation. I went to Travis. I said, "Hey, Travis, how about jumping on NFL.com because that's where our league of record is drafts from." I said, "How about we jump on there and do a mock draft for a standard league for a league of record?" And he was like, "No, dude, I'm good. I don't want to do that." Unbelievable.
Well, NFL.com does have it is our choice. But we might be switching over to Sleeper pretty soon because you just love this format and how quick it goes and how it's laid out. And, it was really fun drafting with Liz Lowe's over there on Yahoo, but it just further cemented our opinion that Sleeper is our favorite one. And a big shout out to Sleeper as well for helping to promote the mock draft marathon and supplying us with all of those cookies to share out with Whisper Nation. These are the cookies you use to buy the avatars, talk smack on your opponents, and just Sleeper, man. We're so excited to be forming this new relationship with you, to be sharing all the amazing work that you do over there at your headquarters, creating this awesome experience for the community and allowing us to have so much fun doing these mock drafts. Because honest to goodness, if we were doing it on NFL.com, if we were doing it on Yahoo or ESPN, God bless them, we wouldn't be doing it like this of this quality. So thank you all, and we're so excited to continue to build with you. But boys, it's the end of another mock draft.
We did it.
Unbelievable.
We did
Dude,
it.
after doing this for 24 hours, that went by fast.
Yeah, it did.
Right?
I thought it was like a 15-minute recess there.
And we did have a 15-minute recess in the middle of the technical difficulties, and here we still
are.
I
forgot about that.
FF Fortune says, "Respect the grind, guys. Still haven't got my cookies, LOL. We're working with Sleeper. We're gonna get you those cookies. We have not forgotten about you. We got all the names down, so don't worry about that." FF
we
Fortune.
had to
trust us. You know where we draft. You're here every Monday.
Yeah,
you'll get those cookies.
Cookies are in the digital oven. As soon as they come out, we're gonna let them cool.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna be sent over your way. But digital cookies take a longer time to cool. They're made of like molten lava and weird ass microchips and stuff. So just give it a little time. They're coming over your way. But boys, we got to give the people what they want on this one.
Yeah, mock
grades.
Yeah. All right.
So are we going to break it down the way we
did
it on last week's show, where we'll have Johnny, you'll start us off, and then Travis, and then me, and go ahead and give us a breakdown on the team. Give us your overall grade. And then if Travis or I disagree heavily or have a strong contrast, we'll tell you. But go ahead and take us away, Johnny. Start us off.
I'm going to start with the 1 spot because last week we started with the 12. And I've already been bragging a lot about the 12 spot. So let's start at the 1 spot. And, I did brag a little bit at the beginning here. I like the 3 running backs that he started off with. Christian McCaffrey, David Johnson, Todd Gurley, back to back to back. And I think that that's great. A great way to hedge your bet on David Johnson because if he is, what every other announcer, believed and they were fading David Johnson and I'm not right, then you have that safety net in Todd Gurley there to be your RB2. So I like that. Zach Ertz as the tight end. Definitely coming around on Zach Ertz with all this information, on the wide receiver core for the Philadelphia Eagles. Zach Ertz, a constant cog in there. Then you got Keenan Allen, Julian Edelman, Marvin Jones in the 5th, 6th, and 7th spot, or 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds. Then you got Josh Allen as the quarterback in the 8th. You had Jamison Crowder, Randall Cobb, who we started to reconsider after Sigmund Bloom yesterday was on during our mock draft marathon and really said, hey, you guys might want to take a second look at Randall Cobb. So definitely like that, after diving in a little bit more than Randall Cobb. And then Duke Johnson, Ito Smith, and Blake Jarwin to end it out. Nice second tight end combo there. I'm gonna be honest with the Josh Allen. That's the one. I'm not. That's the little stretch there. I would give this team a B.
I don't think
Travis?
I don't think I disagree with that.
No.
I thought it was solid all the way down. I thought it didn't wow you in a lot of areas other than CMC. Like
Yeah.
everything's really vanilla, and I don't love Josh Allen this year. If I'm pretty.
Or are you gonna say if
I'm
you're
pretty
innocent? You were
if
about
I'm
to say if you're
honest,
innocent. Whoa, dude.
If I'm honest, I don't love Josh Allen. I think he's being a little overhyped this year. But in the 8th round, I'm not telling or I'm not saying it's too bad. I would agree with B. Sorry, kind of tailed off.
I take a B as well on this one. Just it's good. I think it's probably making the playoffs, and you're probably stoked to play this team in the playoffs if you're the opponent.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
How about you, Travis? We're going down clockwise, if you will. Lando Snap in the number 2 spot. Give us your rundown and take.
Okay, so he took Michael Thomas, then Melvin Gordon, Kenny Galladay. Really liked, and then Terry McLaurin. Like we said, we really love the wide receivers here. I want to see what he did with the running backs. Melvin Gordon, Ronald Jones, Marlon Mack. Love Melvin Gordon. Well, I shouldn't say I love Melvin Gordon. I'm being talked into Melvin Gordon more.
You're twisting my arm.
I really like Ronald Jones. I think that there's a case to be made that he could be a league winner. So I'm kind of favoring his running back situation given the wide receiver prowess that he picked up here. Hunter Henry's a decent tight end, and he went super late on quarterback. Picked up Baker and then Daniel Jones. I think Lando's playing to my likes here because he picked up Daniel Jones here. And he picked up Baker to start the season. I'd have to see the schedule to see if I believe that Baker can get it done enough. But I'm going to give it a B-. The wide receivers and tight end really carry this team, but he could be in a lot of trouble if Baker doesn't get it done to start the season. Danny Dimes, I think, is going to be really good this year, but he's got a brutal start to the year.
Yeah.
You agree with that take, Johnny, or are you going him heavy up or heavy down versus what Travis said?
I mean, yeah, I think it's a solid team for sure. I would agree with Travis on his breakdown. I think yeah, it's going to be difficult in the beginning of the season. I think that's just the only difficult part, but I like the wide receiver core a lot.
I'm giving him a slightly higher grade with a B+ because I think that his wide receivers are through the roof. Kenny Galladay to me is a guy who I've been really more turned on as of late. He actually inspired a potential new segment of this guy's on the up, of going from like a 1B to a superstar level or a 2 to a 1, which guys are making those jumps for me. And Kenny Galladay is just a guy who's completely well-rounded, and he's getting the ball thrown to him by a guy who can get you 5,000 yards any season, even under a Patricia system. So I really like the upside of the receivers, and he just needs those wide receivers to hold. I love Travis's point of Ronald Jones being a potential league winner, and Melvin Gordon, I'm also coming around to him as well. Marlon Mack is obviously you got Jonathan Taylor over there. I like both of your takes that he's probably going to get run into the ground, though, Marlon Mack is, so that could benefit you a lot. Still a lot of other players. And he just doesn't have a lot of depth behind a running back. Yeah. So he's got a hole. There's not a lot of depth behind that running back spot. But, hey, if you're only starting 2 anyways, and you got Jones and Gordon, and they do what you want, this is a good team. So I like that one there. So it is my breakdown now for the number 3. T. Garrett FF in the 3rd spot takes Saquon Barkley. Nice fall there. And then George Kittle at the number 2 to lock up that tight end. Le'Veon Bell is his second running back. Takes a string of wide receivers then with DJ Shark Jr., Cortland Sutton, and Jarvis Landry. Back-to-back running backs with Phillip Lindsay and Tariq Cohen. Similar play styles there, too. Justin Jefferson and Alan Lazard to follow. In the 11th, he took Nyheim Hines and closed out his draft with Steven Sims Jr. and Joe Burrow as his quarterback. Man, I was feeling all right about this one until I got down there to Joe Burrow as your only quarterback on your team. Now, I know that this is a position where you've got free agents available like crazy, and you can definitely find someone to get you going. But Joe Burrow to start, a rookie wide receiver playing for the worst team in the NFL last year, I just going to need to see a little bit, especially considering we're getting no preseason this year. I'm not sure what he's really about, so that gives me pause and makes me nervous. I love the Saquon Barkley pick, obviously, and George Kittle at the number 2 to give yourself a bit of that positional advantage. And Le'Veon Bell, I'm a more fan than most. This team doesn't wow me at any position, and even when you get that positional advantage at the tight end, you're still the number 2 there behind Kelsey. and that quarterback is really making me nervous. So, and then Justin Jefferson, rookie wide receiver, you're gonna have you're drafting him in a spot where you're planning on playing him, or at least considering it. I got to go B minus C plus on this one for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd actually go C. I think it does belong in the C category, and that's really because I think the wide receiver outside of I like Cortland Sutton, I do. I don't know, and I love DJ Shark,
What is going
but
on?
I just don't. I don't like love Saquon, but I don't like Le'Veon Bell so much. And the quarterback of Joe Burrow, you waited all the way to the end. Philip Lindsay, Tariq. Yeah, I don't know. I'd C plus. I would agree with that.
Johnny, you look like you're feeling differently.
Yeah, absolutely. I am
Tell us
feeling
why.
100%. I think that this is I mean, now don't get me wrong. Do I think this is an A team? No. But I think this is a solid B team. I mean, come on. DJ Chark as the upside of a top 8 wide receiver. You've got Cortland Sutton, who was wide receiver 14 last year at the end of the year. You've got Jarvis Landry, who's a PPR monster, just got taken off the PUP list. And then you look at some of the, Alan Lazard, the information just came out today, how Lazard, they're pumping up Alan Lazard as a possibility to start as the wide receiver 2 there. And then look at the running backs. Now, I understand, not the biggest fan of Le'Veon Bell, but if you're getting Le'Veon Bell as your running back 2, I'm much more okay with it. And I'm, Philip Lindsay and Tyreek Cohen and Naheem Hines, through one of those guys, you'll be able to do fill-ins. I just think that this is a B team. I wouldn't put it in a C minus or a C because I think that means they wouldn't make the playoffs. And I think this team could.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of teams could, but this is a 14-team league, and I'm just not wowed by any of his positions.
I think there is a possibility Joe Burrow is a top 12 quarterback this year. I don't think he'll be a top 8 like Kyler Murray or top 6 like Kyler Murray last year, but there is a possibility he's 12 or 11.
I love hearing you gas more up Alan Lazard. I'll take that.
Oh, I don't need to do that. Aaron Rodgers is doing that enough.
I'll take it, man. But Jonas, give us your breakdown now on number 4 on Smooth 1074's team, who started off with Ezekiel Elliott in the 4 spot.
Yeah, started with Ezekiel Elliott, then went James Conner in the 2nd, Mike Evans, Robert Woods, Stephon Diggs as his trio of wide receivers. I talked about that before, how I really like that trio. Then Dak Prescott as his quarterback. You had Matt Breida, Evan Ingram, Alexander Madison, then Brandon Ayuk in the 10th. Then you grabbed Adrian Peterson in the 11th, Ben Roethlisberger, and then Jarrett McKinnon in the 13th. This is a good team. B plus for me. I think that the running backs I really, really like. Like I said, I talked about the wide receiver core. I think the quarter. Wait a second here. Actually, I'm going to say A minus for this team. A minus.
You had me at B plus. I don't want to tip it to A minus only because the running back depth does scare me. For a guy in James Conner, I love James Conner, and I'll be pounding the drum for him. But if he isn't healthy, you've got Matt Breida as just the pass-catching back as your RB2, potentially. Madison has the upside. What I did love about the depth is he picked upside guys. He picked Madison with huge upside. He picked Adrian Peterson with some upside given the guy's situation. And then Jarek McKinnon as a stab late. You want to get a piece of that backfield at all. So I did like how he recovered there. And his wide receivers, similar to what you were saying, Austin, about Lando, if they hold, this team's really good. If it holds, this may be the best starting lineup we've seen because Evan Ingram, we know what Evan Ingram's upside is. It's top 5. But as you've pointed out before, is he the new Jordan Reed? We don't really know. I would give this a B plus. I think it's close. I like
Travis. I like you both on there, and I'm siding with a lot of the points that Travis, you're there saying. Really good starting roster, right? Dak Prescott, Evan Ingram starting off right there.
Yeah.
Spend some time on those wide receivers. But Travis, carry us forward now into Christian Langlois at the number 5 spot.
Yeah, so he took Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is sitting there at 1.5. Then Chris Godwin, Chris Carson, Cooper Kupp. I don't know. I'm probably being talked off of Cooper Kupp a lot this offseason by my partner Johnny and some others in the industry. So I don't know that I love Cooper Kupp as my wide receiver 2, but if he is the Cooper Kupp that I've known to watch on the field, that's a great wide receiver 2. So we'll see how that works out. Rob Gronkowski, I'm also getting talked off of a lot this offseason, and it's just because we haven't seen him in a long time play football. So that would be the situation. I'd be a little concerned there. Plus, there's so many mouths to feed. Drew Brees is Drew Brees. He's consistent, constant. That's what he's going to do. Keyshawn Vaughn is your third running back, and we don't know what's going on. They signed LaShawn McCoy, meaning they probably aren't very hopeful in Vaughn's status this offseason. Sony Michel, once again, signed Lamar Miller in New England, so they're not very hopeful. And then Matt Stafford, I love. This team also auto-drafted or just picked up Darius Geis, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm going to give this a C+. I think it's close to a B with Alvin Kamara and Chris Carson. But then Rob Gronkowski, Cooper Kupp, and Drew Brees, they just don't really they're not wowing me. So I got to give it a C+.
I'm personally with you there too. There's just not enough of that high upside, especially at the wide receiver position for me.
Yeah.
I think you're getting Cooper Kupp at what you hope
And
that
you
he's
gotta
going to be at.
Yeah, you got to start 3 wide receivers here, right? So Sterling Shepard's your third, and with Cooper Kupp as your second. If Cooper Kupp is what we saw in the back half of last year, where he was like kind of dogging out because they were moving to 12 personnel, you're going to be really sad with this roster, I think.
Yeah,
Johnny,
that's similar for me.
I think you're breaking down. Or no, Austin, you're breaking down Jordan Flowers now.
Jordan Flowers at the 6 takes Dalvin Cook, Lamar Jackson, quarterback early in the second round. Don't hate it. Adam Thielen. He takes DeAndre Swift, rookie running back out of Detroit, and then a pair of receivers in T.Y. Hilton and Tyler Boyd. Latavius Murray is going to be his running back 3 for now. John Brown is the wide receiver to follow. Tyler Higbee at the tight end position. Golden Tate for some more depth. And then closes out on a string of wide receivers with Justin Jackson out of the Chargers backfield, Anthony McFarland Jr., and Joshua Kelly. So he's going ahead and gotten a lot of the backups in there. He must not feel very good about Austin Eckler running the show and gets Josh Kelly and Justin Jackson, all the other backups over there. I feel like that's just kind of a lot of this team. It's got a lot of guys that are hoping to get their shot outside of Dalvin Cook, who let's just pretend he's going to play for sure. And then Lamar Jackson, the reigning MVP. I think Adam Thielen, I'm liking where he's coming in. I think he's going to do just fine, but he is going to be in a different role. Stephon Diggs is out of there. And we've seen it. You've said it before, Travis. Kirk Cousins had a game where he passed it like 12 times.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So not the craziest ceiling for him. And then DeAndre Swift, I think that's going to be fine. But as your RB2, can't deny for me, Kerryon Johnson. He's still there. He's still young. And this is still Patricia's team. I like the the T.Y. Hilton. Tyler Boyd, we'll see with AJ Green. New reports are
kind of the
good.
meh wide receiving core, right? It's like
yeah,
Adam Thielen, T.Y. Hilton, Tyler Boyd, like meh.
Meh receivers, meh running back. I mean, obviously super stud in Lamar Jackson, but I'm gonna go. Man, I don't want to be grimy. I'm gonna go C. And
I think
I'm being kind of
correct.
nice.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
I would agree.
Okay. Well, we break it down then, Johnny. We're jumping now over to Hey Tong Gifford, 333 at the 7 spot takes Derrick Henry. Break it down for us, Johnny.
Takes Derrick Henry, then Travis Kelce, Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett, Cam Akers, and then Aaron Rodgers in the 6th, followed by Darius Slay, Tevin Coleman, Kerryon Johnson, Tom Brady, Paris Campbell, Robbie Anderson, and Curtis Samuel. Ooh, nice. Let's see. Let's dive into here. I actually like what they did at the running back position, given how they went about this. This is really interesting. They recovered well. So you had the Derrick Henry, right? Like get the anchor running back. And then to get Cam Akers or Tevin Coleman, and even Kerryon Johnson, even though I'm not a huge fan, I don't think Kerryon Johnson is any threat to DeAndre Swift come after week 5. But you are really hedging your bet here, and I think quite nicely with the Cam Akers and Tevin Coleman. I would caveat with saying I don't think if you went this route and if you're willing to take Aaron Rodgers in the 6th, I would not spend a 10th rounder on Tom Brady. I'm fine if you want either one of those guys.
Right.
But then, like if you're getting Tom Brady in the 10th, like you would rather have that 6th round pick back and even get the guy after Michael Gallup or Antonio Gibson. I think I would be a lot more confident in this wide receiver core. But would you say it's C?
I kind of like it a little bit more. I think
It's
than
it's like oddly nice,
It's oddly
but
attractive.
it's like
it is because the Cam Akers pick at 5'7", you're like, yeah, that's your second running back. But then to get Tevin Coleman in the 8th,
yeah,
and then to back it up with Kerryon Johnson, like you're taking the what if the Swift thing doesn't work out right away? So I've got Kerryon to start the year, and I think you've got a situation where you could see if Cam Akers plays out. He's playing for a lot of storylines, so yeah, I think it's probably more of a C+, B-, because Kelsey and Henry, man, that volume is going to get you by. And then Amari Cooper, if Amari Cooper just stays healthy, he's going to be. I know I said punt him and get Gallup, but if they're both the same wide receiver, that's still a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
And Tyler Lockett is getting slept on left and right in drafts. And so I think he rounded up his wide receivers pretty well. Darius Slayton, we all like Darius Slayton on this show as your 3rd wide receiver. I'm gonna give it a C+, only because as a Packers fan, this hurts. I don't believe in Aaron Rodgers as a fantasy QB right now. God, that hurts.
I don't believe in
so
Matt LaFleur's
to say, man.
Rodgers a fantasy QB.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
that is where I'm at with it. And you know what? I'll take the downside I'll take the downside with being wrong on film, because that downside means that my team's balling out. So I'll take that right now.
Fair enough.
I like that take. My only concern with here is how low the floor is here. Cam Akers is we expect to be part of a committee
100%.
system. Tevin Coleman as well. Kerryon Johnson, you hope it's a committee system where he's still getting love. My favorite part of this team, though, is the 3 dice throws there at the bottom: Harris Campbell, Robbie Anderson, and Curtis Samuel. That could end up being a string of really productive dudes that you got crazy late. But Travis, I like your break on there. How about you take us to FF Fortune?
Man, I don't know if I'll do this justice. This guy comes in every week and just dominates. FF Fortune here: Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, then Allen Robinson, OBJ. Starting 4 is killer, and then he just puts the cherry on top with Kyler Murray. Plays to my heart with Michael Gallup. We've talked about him. Continues to play to my heart with Deontay Johnson, one of my favorite breakout wide receivers this year. Hayden Hurst, I think this is the right value for Hayden Hurst, right in the 8th. You don't have to pay premium tight end money for him, and you get to play that experiment that is he Austin Hooper? We'll see. The upside of Darrell Henderson, A.J. Dillon, and LaShawn McCoy, that's what I want you to take with your running backs. I want you to take upside shots with your running backs, and he did that here. Antonio Brown, another upside play. Raquel Armstead. I think this team is an A, if I'm being quite honest. Well, you know what? I'll give it an A- only because Aaron Jones is your RB2, and then your RBs are pretty much pure upside back here. But other than that, the starting lineup is really solid.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there.
Yeah.
No disagreements from me.
I mean, FF Fortune.
FF Fortune.
He's doing what he does.
Legend.
On brand.
He's doing what he does.
On brand. So moving on then to Easy Daddy. What's going on, Easy Daddy? Great to have you here again. In the 9th spot, he takes Devontae Adams. Shout out to Johnny for hooking me up with a sweet Devontae Adams and Big Travie. A sweet Devontae Adams jersey. So grateful for that. Can't wait to get that up once we get our new place locked in. Devontae Adams at the 1, or is at his 1 in the 9th spot. Austin Eckler is his first running back off the board. DJ Moore is going to be his wide receiver 2. He takes Kareem Hunt in the 4th, Russell Wilson in the 5th, and a little bit there in the 6th. Mike Gesicki, tight end out of Miami in the 7th. Jalen Reagor in the 8th, rookie wide receiver for Philadelphia. Michael Pittman Jr. out of Indianapolis. Carlos Hyde in the 10th. TJ Hawkinson, tight end for Detroit. In the 11th, backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater and Brian Edwards in the 13th round. Oh, well, I don't hate this team, but I just hate where he got these players at. You know, we're talking about Antonio Gibson. You're taking Antonio Gibson in the 6th right there, as if you know that he's going to be the starting running back for the Washington football team.
I honestly think that's where he's going to end up going.
I wouldn't be shocked at all. I mean, Geis was going in
that right around
that range too, and he's got the injury history.
We knew he was the starter.
Yeah,
when
he came off healthy. We knew he was the starter in a crowded backfield with injury history. So I would just say that about Geis, where he had caveats. Antonio Gibson, the only real caveat is AP.
Yeah.
in my opinion, who we know has done it. Like, I'm not discrediting that. But we also have the benefit of the coaching staff saying, this guy's like Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
The coaching staff that just coached and drafted Christian McCaffrey. So, I mean, I
think you're getting with the risk built in.
Yeah,
at this
I
position.
would imagine
There's
that.
no value. There's no value found there.
Yeah.
In that position. Mike Gesicki as well. It's like, damn, dude, you got a tight end that we're kind of saying is a sleeper pick there in the 7th. Same thing. I like him. I like what the upside is there, but you're buying him there at the risk built in. And then Jalen Reagor, you guys have turned me on to him. I think he really does have a path to relevancy, and his skill set means he's going to be a monster for fantasy football. But there's a lot of things that got to happen, and the fact that Deshaun Jackson is going crazy late, and a rookie wide receiver who, it's statistically, that's such a hard position to produce at in year 1. It's got a lot of risk built into that pick there. And same thing with Michael Pittman Jr. I know we like there, but I'm more of a fan of the Paris Campbell gamble, a guy who's had a
Paris Campbell gamble.
That's pretty good.
I like that.
I like that one there because of the familiarity with the playbook already. He's got a freakish skill set. And the coaches over there last year were talking about Paris Campbell being much more than just a streaking receiver. They're like, this guy can run every single route, and he's got crazy intangibles. So with that said, I know everyone's high on Michael Pittman, the new flash out of the pan, but we haven't seen him do anything. And rookie wide receivers are suspect most of the time as is. Carlos Hyde, you guys have talked about him a lot, not getting crazy excited about him there. And there's just I'm going with a C over on this one. That's a C grade for me, given Kareem Hunter, Antonio Gibson's your running back 2, and Austin Eckler. I like Austin Eckler, but as your RB1, it makes me also a little bit nervous in only a half-point PPR squad.
I'm gonna go B+, and I'll tell you why. I completely disagree with the Deshaun Jackson take that you guys have. Like, I understand the upside.
You like Reagor as your wide receiver 3? You like starting Jalen Reagor week 1?
I that's why I give it a B+, because I'm not confident in Reagor week 1. But I'm more confident in Reagor than Deshaun Jackson this year. Like, it's not going to be close at the end of the year. When you look at the fantasy points between Reagor and Deshaun Jackson, it's not going to be close. Like, Deshaun Jackson, you can write him out. We have been on that ship so many times. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
you
okay.
Like him in your starting roster week 1? Or
I'm not 100%. No,
right.
I'm not 100% confident. You're right. I'm not 100% confident. 10,000%. I would not have taken Teddy Bridgewater here in the 12th if I have Russell Wilson, because I don't need Teddy Bridgewater if I have Russell Wilson. So I would.
Do you agree with Austin's grade?
What did Austin give him? A B?
I gave him a C.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I would give him a B.
I'm gonna side more on. Well,
here's the thing. Here, I just want to say this and then I'll pass the mic. CMC is rookie year. I get the argument of Adrian Pearson. He might be the lead dog there, and he very well could be the lead dog there. But let's look at Ron Rivera compared Gibson to CMC, and if you look at Christian McCaffrey's rookie year, you're looking at a guy who got 117 rushing attempts, and he had 113 targets his rookie year for 148.6 fantasy points. Now, that's about...
CMC was drafted in the 1st round and got a full camp, like regular off-season workload.
This is true.
Yeah, so I would just caveat that. I get the hype. I don't think that Gibson's really the problem with this roster. I think the problem is that Austin Eckler and Kareem Hunt, as good as they are, could still end up being role players in this offense, and so that's where we're at with that.
Okay.
But I would agree with Austin's take. I think we're moving on to stashes. Right?
We're moving on to stashes.
You're good.
Johnny, take us away here at the 10.
Okay. And I'm sorry. N Peretz 24. I'm not trying to milk this Gibson comp CMC thing. I really think that's a foolish comp. So I apologize for that. Okay. So we have here at the 10th spot. You have Miles Sanders, Jonathan Taylor in the 2nd. All right, Calvin Ridley in the 3rd, A.J. Brown in the 4th, J.K. Dobbins in the 5th, CeeDee Lamb in the 6th. This guy is way heavy on rookies. This is not a dynasty startup league, unfortunately. Took CeeDee Lamb in the 6th, Mike Williams in the 7th, Matt Ryan, Noah Fant, Denzel Mims, Corey Davis, Drew Lock, and Lavissus Chenault. Listen, I want to prop up Whisper Nation as much as possible. But I'm sorry, this is like, I would have to give this team like a C-.
I would agree with that right away. I think that's pretty accurate. He could have done a lot more here, but that's why you mock. You keep doing it.
J.K. Dobbins. I do like the Mike Williams pick, though.
Yep.
Big fan of Mike Williams.
And the A.J. Brown. He has some good picks in here. It just...
Oh, yeah. Just some big holes.
He's very heavy on rookies, and we just want to caveat, like, rookies have a hard time normally.
Like Noah Peretz, Neil and Peretz says here, this team is a dynasty team. Yeah, a dynasty, you're looking a lot more happy with this team for sure.
Yes. Okay, Jacob Bley.
Jonathan Taylor and J.K. Dobbins goes off, and they're the locked-in number ones. This team could be winning you your league.
Yeah, right.
But given what we know right now, we got to
2 years from now, this team's a monster.
Yeah, 100%.
Take our number one fan there,
Jacob Bley. I love the Suns logo. I love what they're doing. But if they go into the first round and they play my Lakers, they're getting smashed. Just FYI.
I don't know.
All right, so CEH, Kenyon Drake, Leonard Fournette, huge, great first 3 picks. Juju Smith-Schuster, Devontae Parker, Christian Kirk, Mecole Hardman, Anthony Miller. He did a great job of stacking a bunch of upside guys here. Like, Juju's great. I think Juju's locked in. I think in the 4th round is a steal. Devontae Parker, if he is what he showed at the end of last year, then we're going to be fine right here. Christian Kirk, if he can just do what we want him to do, perfect. Mecole Hardman, that's Johnny's boy. We know the upside's there. Anything happens to Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman's locked in for a wide receiver 1. Anthony Miller, great breakout candidate this year, especially with Nick Foles running that offense. I think that's fantastic. Tony Pollard's an upside play, and then Cam Newton in the 10th, maybe the best value at quarterback that's been drafted in this entire draft. Maybe Carson Wentz, but this was a round after that, so I like that. Boston Scotty's been listening to his boy Johnny over here talk up Boston Scotty. Plus he had, oh no, he didn't have Miles Sanders. Never mind. That was Irv Smith. This is a breakout candidate. We were just talking with a few people about Irv Smith and how he was a breakout candidate, because if we're talking about Justin Jefferson getting the number 2 role, why doesn't the reigning athletic tight end in this offense have just as much a chance to get the number 2 option in the target realm as Irv Smith Jr.? So I like Irv Smith Jr.
Well, and Travis, with all due respect, my brother, but like that's where if you're in love with Noah Fant, that's where it draws it comparisons to me, because Irv Smith, you have just as much upside but less targets to compete for there, and that's why
I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
So I would give this team an A. I think top to bottom it's really good. I thought the tight end situation is he played to upside, and that's the side you want to get weak at if you're going to be weak. And so that's the situation we're dealing with there. I think Jacob Bley is an A. I can't see a situation where this team doesn't make the playoffs and isn't competing for it all.
Yeah, I don't want any oh, go ahead, Austin. You go ahead.
I was just saying, I agree totally on that one. Jacob Bley's team looks fantastic on here. I'm stoked to see what he's doing. For these technical difficulties.
Yeah, no, you're okay. That's a story of our lives here at TFW, and Whisper Nation is awesome, and they fight through those technical difficulties all the time. So they are also used to it, and we appreciate them. But I must say that Jacob Bley, I got it. FF Fortune is a growing legend around here. Is a growing legend on the mock drafting. But I must say that this team right here that Jacob Bley put together is very, very nice, and he did a great job here. So I love this team. This is probably one of my favorite teams.
Yeah, I like an A. I'm sold on it.
Yeah. All right. Next one, Big Germ, 909.
Oh, Big Germ.
Yeah.
All right, break it down.
Oh, it's me. It's my turn.
Yeah.
All right. Gets Nick Chubb.
Actually, yeah, it's your turn.
Yeah, it's my turn. All right.
Austin's in on this.
Somehow, some way, has Nick Chubb fall to the 112 spot, grabs him there, gets DeAndre Hopkins with the 2 in the 2nd round, then David Montgomery, DK Metcalf, Marquise Brown, Darren Waller in the 6th, Emmanuel Sanders in the 7th, James White, then Jerry Jeudy in the 9th, and then you had Damian Harris in the 10th, Jared Goff in the 11th, and then Eric Ebron and D.D. Westbrook. I really like this team. Well done, Jeremy. I would give him a B+.
Yeah, I like it. The only thing I would say is Jared Goff isn't my favorite late round quarterback in this situation.
Well, he
like,
just
he had
came out and said he was going to throw for 3,000
I know.
yards.
Players say a lot of things.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger's sitting here. I would have maybe taken Ben Roethlisberger over him, but I don't mind it. I mean, Daniel Jones got swooped up before him. So, yeah, I think Jared Goff has a shot. If that team is bad again, they'll be throwing a lot. But that defense is really good. And so I think and with all the backs, they're probably going to want to run a lot more. So, I mean, there is, and Peretz is talking about it here, Goff positive regression incoming as well. That is true. He threw a touchdown. His yards per touchdown rate was really low, lower than the league average by far. So he's probably due for more touchdowns thrown this year. I agree with that. I just haven't been able to pull the trigger a lot based on the fact that a lot's changing in this offense, and we don't know how voluminous it'll be in the passing game. But I agree with that.
A
I
lot
think
of weeks last year.
What's that?
Goff was a top 5 quarterback. Goff was a top 5 quarterback for a good stretch there. He definitely has his games and possibilities, and I think
the range of outcomes is a little higher. The range of outcomes is a little all over the place with Goff, but I do agree he has the ceiling. We've seen it. Like, he's had 303 touchdown games a bunch. So we'll see how that plays out. Austin, I think you're up on FF Dad.
13th spot took Joe Mixon to lead it off, and Julio Jones as his number 1 wide receiver. Never a wrong choice there. Mark Andrews in the 3rd. Friend of the show. Raheem Mostert, running back out of San Francisco there in the 4th. A.J. Green in the 5th. Deshaun Watson is going to be his QB. Debo Samuel and Preston Williams there in the 7th and 8th. Carson Wentz in the 9th. Austin Hooper, tight end in the 10th. Sammy Watkins, Deshaun Jackson there, and closes it out with Jamal Williams in the 13th. You're looking at your running backs here of Joe Mixon and Raheem Mostert. Not bad if Raheem Mostert can get the volume. But I don't think Raheem Mostert is really going to be the volume. I've been saying it a lot. I'd be really stoked on grabbing either Tevin Coleman or even Jerick McKinnon on later. But Raheem Mostert, I know the 5.6 yards per carry is incredible. That line is fantastic. I just don't expect this guy to be getting a ton of opportunities given how much the 49ers diversify. So I'm a little nervous about his number 2 running back. And then wide receivers, Julio Jones, fantastic. If A.J. Green comes back healthy, good reports out of camp today. You like that. Debo Samuel, we know he's got the foot issue. Preston Williams, he also is coming back from injury. Really great stack in quarterbacks that Deshaun Watson and Carson Wentz. You're going to be happy with one of those there, but I got to wonder if maybe spending it on a running back or getting a little bit more of a solid floor for your other positions wasn't something you considered there. And Austin Hooper there in the 10th, not bad, but you're really banking on him even at that late 10th round spot of coming out. And there's a lot of mouths to feed in Cleveland, but they did go out and they paid him and they got him, and he does have a lot of talent. Sammy Watkins in the 11th, I have no problem with. Deshaun Jackson in the 12th, I love. And Jamal Williams, well, you'll have a roster spot to fill when you drop that 13th pick. So I'm going to go ahead. I love the position, Mark Andrews. I like the wide receivers. Quarterbacks are great. Running backs are suspect, and that's hard to fill up, though. So I'm going to go B-.
Right on. I would agree with that. I think that's
yeah.
I mean, he did double up on quarterback and tight end, but like this year, and that was noted in the comments by Superstar Titus. But this year, that might be the year to do it. Like with COVID, like you may want to, like for once, draft 2 QBs and 2 tight ends, like especially with the position.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Brandon Stan is up,
Johnny,
and I think Johnny, take us home here, brother.
All right, Brandon Stan, who I was admiring his team a little earlier in the mock draft, gets Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes in the first, second, kind of surprises everyone. Then gets Mark Ingram, Devin Singletary, and Jordan Howard. Grabs 3 running backs after doing that. And then Will Fuller in the 6th, Zach Moss in the 7th, Henry Ruggs in the 8th, then Jared Cook, N'Keal Harry, Jonnu Smith in the 11th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Then Brashad Perriman and Bryce Love here at the 12th and 13th. I love this team. I think this team is, yes, there is a huge downside to this team. Like the floor of this team, if Will Fuller gets injury, Henry Ruggs is a rookie, and N'Keal Harry is not the team that is not the wide receiver with Cam Newton that we hope he is or expect him to be. But man, he's even got Brashad Perriman. I like this team, man. I would give this team an A, like a very good A.
Yeah, it's hard not to give it an A, considering what he was able to do at running back with Pat Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. I will agree with you that the wide receiver 2 and on, and even the wide receiver 1, has a situation where it's like the floor here is a real floor. But you're wondering if a Pat Mahomes led quarterback and the running backs that go with it aren't going to counteract that floor if it happens on week to week. And then the weeks that it hits, there's no way you're not winning your week. So I would agree with you, Johnny. A, if not an A plus. I think if you're playing for upside, if you're playing for fun, I think that's how you rock it here. And I think Brandon Stan kind of came away with it at least with the most sexy team.
Yeah,
maybe it's not the best by the book team.
Yeah,
but I like this team a lot.
I mean, yeah, there are a lot
this
of
team
question
for me
marks.
is like this team's. I don't even think there are a lot of question marks on this team. You've got Mark Ingram, who's going to be leading the way at least to start. You got the Buffalo backfield locked up. That's enough running backs for you there. And the wide receivers: Tyreek Hill, Will Fuller, N'Keal Harry, Henry Ruggs, like
Rashad Perriman,
really high
I
upside.
think
Really high upside over there. And this team to me is like a BB plus without the quarterback. And then you throw in the best quarterback in the game. And for me, I'd agree with you, Johnny. Solid A on this one for me.
Yeah.
Well, we did it, guys. Another mock draft in the books. We had to come back and give it to you just to really give you guys a big thank you. Go purely your guys' teams, talk about only your guys' teams, and give you that love because you guys gave us the energy. You guys gave us the love to do the mock draft marathon on Monday. We appreciate it. Give us a comment, a little thumbs up, a little like. And
a subscribe would be great
A little
too.
subscribe.
Yeah, that would
subscribe.
be fantastic.
That'd be pretty good.
Not a big one, just a little
pretty
one.
nice,
It's
just a
all
little guy.
We're trying to get to 1,000.
Yeah,
It's pretty big.
yeah. Help us out.
Yeah.
We'll get there with your guys' help. For Austin Sear, for Johnny Game Time Hicks, I'm Big Travie. We are the Fantasy Whispers. We're out of here.
Well, until next Monday night, we're out of here.
Yeah, we're out of here.
Peace.
Guys, I love you so much. I wish I could debrief. I gotta go.
Yeah, love you.
Peace.
Bye.